What up, my G Life? It's your boy MC Shadow back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Don't forget to check out my second channel, Man Society M.O.D. That's where we go live and talk about, anything and everything. Now, I was on a live the other day and I had gotten asked a question about how is it that there that there's some gang members that don't know other gang members within their gang. Like, how exactly does that happen, or how does that work? Like, how is that even possible, right? And that does happen, depending on the size of your neighborhood as well, right? Because some neighborhoods they have thousands of members, right? Um, I meaning in the whole entire time frame of the neighborhood, meaning from the day it started till nowadays, right? So not to say that all those thousands of heads are out there all at once, but meaning through its history, right? So thousands of members, some, right? The larger ones. The more smaller ones are, if not close to 100, but knocking on to 100 members, the smallest ones. And that's just the facts of things. Yes, there's that many individuals. You know what I mean? Um, you'll be surprised how many individuals are in a certain area down here, right? When it comes to, people, is that populated in Southern California. So you have, hundreds of individuals. And now, I know that people think that how gangs work is that you have these old guys that are just standing around and telling these kids what to do and manipulating kids and recruiting kids, and that's not how it works. you know um, Normally, when you're in the process of becoming and getting into your neighborhood, you're hanging around individuals your age. The ones that are jumping you in are individuals your age, if not a year or 2 years the max older than you, right? But you guys are roughly all the same age, probably going to the same school and hanging out. So these individuals are roughly your age, right? So when you get jumped in and you roll with the hood, you're rolling around with individuals your age. The homies you're hanging around with and doing all the, how can I say, all the things you're not supposed to be doing are roughly with individuals your age, with your group, and you're not being sent by older guys. Older guys ain't telling, hey, you guys, come here. You guys have to do this and that. You have the OGs hanging around with the OGs, the guys that are like in their mid 20s or 30s hanging around with the mid 20 and 30-year-olds. And then you have the youngsters hanging around with the youngsters, right? And people have different spots within the neighborhood, right? Because it's a pretty decent sized ground of territory, right? Multiple streets, right? So everybody has different spots where they kick it at and do what they do. It works like kind of like a family. You have some cousins that you're really close with, and you have some other cousins that you're not really all that close to with, right? But you guys are all still family, right? And if you probably needed his help, he would help you. But it's not a cousin that you say like you hang around with all the time. Maybe a cousin that you say what's up to, like, hey, what's up, and chop it up, small talk here and there, and but that's about it, right? And that's how it works in the hood too. you know um Small talk between individuals, and just like, you, hey, what's up, you say what's up. Or if you ever need backup, they'll back you up, right? But to say that you're hanging around with them and you guys are like, like really close, nah, that's not how it works. You're not going to be close with everybody. You're only going to be close with the ones that you run around with. um and it is all by age group. And once in a while everyone gets together and and kick it, right? But not to say that that happens all the time, or that's how it is on a daily basis. No, right? Everybody's doing them, but still within the neighborhood, you know. So that's how it works. So it's not I. It's not that people be like, oh, they're brainwashing these kids. No one's brainwashing anybody. These old guys ain't standing around and waiting for the kids to walk home from school and being like, hey kid, come here, I got candy. Uh, hey, have you ever thought of joining a gang? Let me tell you what we can offer you. That's not what they're doing, bro. Remember, gangsters see their gangs as something that's honorable, something that they hold high to a high standard, something that they cherish, right? Even though you get nothing out of it, it's stupid. It's better to stay in school. But meaning that's how they see it. They view it as an honor and something that they're prideful in. So to be begging people to join their gang is they wouldn't do that, bro. Like, imagine begging people to join your neighborhood. Like, you should want to be from the neighborhood, bro. It's a fucking honor. That's how they see it, right? So they're not gonna be out there doing that kind of shit. You know, They see that as beneath them, like that it's insulting, if anything. You know what I mean? Um, so they're not out there brainwashing nobody. Kids come, willingly because they're being neglected at home, right? Um, and they gravitate to individuals their age. When you're getting jumped in or hanging around, they're roughly individuals your age. You're not a bunch of 30-year-olds beating up a bunch of teens and having them do all their dirty work. They're doing them, and the youngsters, do whatever the hell they want. They know the rules. They know how it goes. You know what I mean? They just go out and they do what they do, bro. Period. And if it's a big problem, then they'll go to the OGs and stuff like that, right? Or if there's something like, that they don't understand, or something that's just out of their, limits, right? But to say that they're just waiting around to take orders and people sending them off, no. The fuck? That's not how it works. So that's pretty much what it is. And not everyone's gonna like everybody, just like you don't get along with all your family members, or you're not that close with all your family members, right? Or and like I said, some family members you might beef it with, right? But even with friends, right? Like you could be with cool, you could have your best friend, right? And he has his sets of friends, and you may be like some of those friends, but not all of them, right? Like you end up becoming friends with his friends, but not all his friends, right? Like some of them you probably won't like or won't really, care for, right? And same with the neighborhood, because the amount, like I said, it's human interaction nonetheless, right? So you're not gonna feel everybody, you're not gonna get along with everybody, or you're not gonna think everyone's cool, or you're just not gonna gel with everybody. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, if you guys need to, back each other's plate, then it is what it is. But not to say that like, hey, yeah, hey, I'm gonna go hang around with him and stuff like that, right? So that's how individuals, just like I said, everyone's in different groups, and individuals get busted and they come out. Some individuals end up moving, but like I said, bro, it's just there's different reasons for it, right? So it is possible for individuals to be from the same hood and not know each other, right? That is common, right? Um, because like I said, right? Um, you just have it work out like that, right? And there's sometimes neighborhoods end up expanding to different areas, and but multiple reasons for it, right? Like I said, like shit, there's some family members you probably have never even met that from your family, right? Um, but you guys are still all from the same family. But that's what I mean, though. Like, so it works no different. I know that people get mad when I make those like points relatable, right, to family, but because it is structured like that. You know what I mean? And that is how they see it nonetheless, right? Even though it's not, and you get nothing out of it, and brings nothing but chaos and everything like that. But that's how they view it, right? Because they feel like that's all they have. That's the reason why they cherish it and do the stupid shit that they do and have the love that they have, because they feel like it's all that they have, the only family they ever had. You know, why that is? You would have to ask each and every individual, for the reasons, right? Of why they just didn't have a connection at home, that they had to look for it somewhere else, because that's what it's going to come down to. Because if you have a connection at home, you won't. There's no need for a child to go and make a connection anywhere else. They only do it when there's no connection here. Because if there's a connection, they don't want to ruin, disappoint, or break that connection. Trust me, especially with somebody that you hold to a high pedestal like your parents. But when there's no connection there, that's when they seek to be in the streets. People just don't do stuff for just absolutely no reason. You know what I mean? They're out there for a reason. Because not all those kids become gang members that live in those areas that are gang infested. Only some. What are those parents doing that those other parents ain't doing? Why did those kids become gang members but not those kids? If it really is because these individuals are brainwashing in the areas and everything like that, and they would all choose to become from that, seeing that they're going to the same school and living in the same area and even knowing each other, but yet not all of them do. So what did those parents do different? And why were these kids out there and not those kids? They're valid questions, bro. But overall, that's pretty much how it works and structured, and it is possible. So not to say that individuals are lying just because they don't know some people, right? But you know what I mean? Um, because, like I said, you're just not gonna jail with everybody, and um, it's not like how people think it is, like in the movies, right? But I'm just saying,